You're listening to Online Pet Health Podcasts with Dr. Megan Kelly. Continuing education for veterinarian rehabilitation therapists. Learn more at onlinepethealth.com.
Hey Vet Rehabbers, today I'm joined by Narda Robinson. She is the founder of CuraCore. Now they are our gold sponsors for this year's Vet Rehab Summit. If you have not already registered for the event, you can go to vetrehabsummit.com. It is the largest online conference in the veterinary rehabilitation field with more than 1,000 people registered for the day. It's on the 12th of November. You can bookmark it and block it off on your calendar. You're going to want to be there live. Now, Narda shares with us her journey into integrative medicine, how she studied to be a human osteopath as well as a veterinarian. She currently treats people and animals, and she tells us how her passion for integrative medicine led her in the direction of education. Now, CuraCore offers online and in-person courses for both medical and veterinary professionals. Before we head over to the podcast, I want to say thank you to Erica from Animal Wellness. Thanks for the shout out about the veterinary rehabilitation podcast on Instagram. Please, Erica, will you email me at megan@onlinepethealth.com for your limited edition veterinary rehabilitation mug. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, I'd love it if you take a screenshot or take a picture of yourself and post a story and tag at Online Pet Health. Before we head over to my chat with Narda, I just want to say a quick word from our sponsors. Maximize your dog's life and reduce their pain with wiggleless back braces. Just because your dog is aging does not mean your dog has to live in pain. A back brace can provide mild support and help stabilize your dog's spine by decreasing excessive motion. This stabilization can lead to decreased inflammation and irritation to the spinal nerves, and this is all good news for your dog. You can learn more at wiggleless.com or come to the Vet Rehab Summit because Wiggleless will be exhibiting and sponsoring on the 12th of November. So let's head over to my conversation with Narda. Hi Narda, thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Narda, why don't you tell the listeners how you got into the field?
Sure, Meg. Well, originally I got licensed as a physician, so an osteopathic physician, which in the United States is the same equivalent license and training as the allopathic version, the MDs. So I'm a DO and a veterinarian. But I saw, based on the pre-meds that I was studying with in college, I just really didn't want to go the MD route because it just seemed like it was fairly narrow in scope. And my brother went the MD route and I went to his medical school just to visit one day. And it just seemed to be a lot of focus on just disease and kind of magic bullets or just medicine, disease medicine. There was not the heart, the personhood, the ways to evoke healing from within and just natural methods. And having grown up in Boston, Massachusetts, it wasn't a real strong osteopathic location. There weren't a lot of DOs there, but it was suggested to me that I look into that. And so I did, and it just seemed to align perfectly with what I wanted out of medicine, which was how to educate people, how to promote, healthful lifestyles, how to work with our hands so that we can, remove just myofascial dysfunction, so blockages, whatever, help them with pain, help them help themselves. And so that was the route I chose. And so all of this is ultimately relevant to veterinary medicine because it was that whole big next step. But just as I was going through school, at the time I wasn't quite involved with status and prestige, but I also loved the nervous system. So I wanted to be a neurosurgeon and tell people at parties, I'm a neurosurgeon. And then I did a fellowship in neurosurgery. And it was just, it's like all day long, cutting, burning tissue, seeing people on ventilators, just doing these neuro pacemakers in their spinal cord. There wasn't much about what I went to osteopathic school for. And I just had this realization in my 30s, prestige and saying you're this or that, that's not where it is. And I had this kind of then Buddhist kind of period in my lifestyle that I think still holds. But it was much more about what do I want, what is best for me, for the planet, for my patients. And so then I started doing some rotations in acupuncture, and it was a whole different way of being and way of practicing medicine. And it was where you partner, true to the osteopathic philosophy and principles, you're partnering with your patients, encouraging them to pursue activities that foster health, giving them the knowledge and the wherewithal to activate their own endogenous healing mechanisms. And so that was it was pivotal during that time for who I was, what my ethics were, just all that. So that's what prompted me to pursue medical acupuncture. And so instead of going on to a 6-year residency, I then, after internship and licensure, went to just medical acupuncture for physicians course at UCLA. And I was out in practice for several years, and just this feeling that I wanted to work with animals had not gone away. And I had known I wanted to work with animals since I was 3, the typical story. But having volunteered at a veterinarian's office at 16, really naive about what this was all about, and seeing a convenience euthanasia from a person that just wanted to have kittens. So every time the kitten got to 1 year old, she'd have them euthanize that one and get a new one. It was just like heartbreaking. I was like, I cannot, no way, no how, be a veterinarian. So even though that felt true to me, it felt like that's just how it is, because I won't survive being a veterinarian. But even then, outside in practice in human medicine, in the best place it could be, Boulder, Colorado, facing the Flatirons, the best office I could have, it's like there's something missing. And so I took a couple of years of real introspection and realized I need to try this. And fortunately, at Colorado State University, they had a pathway forward where you didn't have to kill an animal for your education, because I did have to do that in medical school. We had a dog in physiology lab, and it's like, no, just like over time, your ethics and all that, it's like, no, I am not that. I'm this, I am not that. But it was a pathway. It was an alternative surgery pathway that I could not have to euthanize an animal for my education, learn from them and euthanize them. I mean, I learned surgery in medical school. We didn't euthanize those patients. So the argument that, oh, you can't learn surgery if you don't practice on a pig and then kill them, that to me doesn't hold water. So anyway, by my 3rd year of veterinary school, here I was still a practicing physician, and still am, and I had a human office. There were certain faculty and administrators from the college that would have back pain or other problems, and they came to see me as a physician. And my medical acupuncture and osteopathic manual therapy helped them. And so when it came to like, what do we want to do when we grow up? And just this course on putting together a resume and what do you want to do? I just said, I want to start an acupuncture service at CSU. That got to the hospital director, and he said, oh, yeah, maybe so. And of course, he was a patient of mine at the time. So with the faculty overseeing my care of these animals, because I did not have a license yet, I was a 3rd year veterinary student. I just, I saw all these animals that when they came in, the only options they had were drugs and surgery. So this was in the mid-90s. And I just said to my faculty mentors and advocates and the hospital director, if these were people in my human practice, I would have various things to offer them that do not involve cutting your bone and realigning it, i.e. the TPLO, which I am not a fan of, or just the drugs, even though your kidneys can't tolerate them, all those things. And so when that all happened, and I started the service there. And then a year later, or once I graduated, we did a little bit of work with teaching acupuncture to veterinarians and veterinary students. And then that's when the Colorado State University acupuncture course was born in about 1998. And then it just evolved into my own company, which is CuraCore, which is why we're here. But it was so much of a relief and just a little bit cosmic to realize that all that time that I had spent in human medicine, wondering, who am I? Where do I fit in? What's important to me? And, once I found acupuncture, it's like, this is how I want to live my life. It's not about being stressed. It's not about saying I'm this or that. It's about connecting with people, helping them heal without as much or any medications and not needing surgery. This is what feels good to me. This is what is life sustaining. And so then when I could bring that to veterinary medicine, it all made sense. And so it took a while, took a lot of years, but even to this day, the principles and practices of what I learned in medical school, being from the osteopathic standpoint, they're so relevant. And now that we have been teaching rehabilitation also for several years, just like structure and function and palpation, myofascial palpation. What do you see? What do you hear about the history? What do you what's the rhythm of the steps in the dogs? I mean, it's so extrapolatable. So it's just, as they say, One Health. And I started from the human end, and I'm still doing that. But I just like to regard everybody as, sentient beings that deserve our care, love, and respect.
Oh, no, I actually thought that I went the long way around by doing veterinary nursing first and then veterinary, but you have really gone the long way around. But it must be amazing, because you must have such, a knowledge base to draw from, learning from, the medical side for humans, and, because there are a lot of things that sometimes we can extrapolate from there. And then the veterinary side. And so learning sort of more the allopathic medicine, and now sort of going more integrative. So wow, well done. Like, what you've achieved is absolutely amazing in one life.
Well, thank you. I mean, I think most veterinarians are amazing. We just have different paths maybe to get here. But then, of course, there's the wanting to stay here. And that's this whole other thing about choosing, creating a life that works for you. Like I had to do in medical school and figure out where I wanted to go. Like, what is it deep down in your heart that you're here for?
Yeah. And, something that you said about the euthanasia that really reminded me of something that happened at vet school. So one of our subjects was poultry health and production. And obviously the poultry is, farming. And I remember one of the things we had to do in our final year is we had to kill a chicken and dissect it. And I refused. I said, no, I'm not doing that. It's not what I came here for. Like, I didn't come to, and, they wanted us to kill it in their minds humanely. But what they were suggesting, and I'm not even going to repeat it because it might upset people, it was not humane at all to me. And they said, well, you will lose marks. And I was like, well, that's fine. Like, I don't mind. Like, I'm not doing it. And I think there were only two people in my whole class out of like 80, 90 people that refused to do it. And I was one of them. But, and then I recall another time, when I was probably a year, hadn't even been qualified for a year. I'd just gone to the UK. A very, very healthy Labrador came in, and an owner also, said that they're moving. No one else can have their dog, and this dog had to be put to sleep. And, these are the kind of things that, you get exposed to. And, I remember eventually finding a practice in Cape Town where I had the vet that worked with me had a very similar outlook, and we were like, we do not euthanize animals that don't need to be euthanized, which was great. But yeah, it's one of the things that obviously as a vet is the hard part of our jobs is putting animals to sleep. And it's okay when we have to do it when they are suffering, right? But if they're not, then it's not okay.
Well, exactly. And I think that you're highlighting why I think we need to, or that veterinary medicine needs to revolutionize itself, or I say we need to revolutionize veterinary medicine. Because imagine if we went to a place that was consistent with our ethics and morality and all that. And our educators supported that, and that there were ways that we didn't have to kill an animal to learn on them, which thankfully for CSU at the time that was there, or with even our examinations of animals, that we don't have to cause pain to find pain. And that's a big thing from the osteopathic work and palpation and really understanding the body. Yeah, if we're thinking that an animal might have a cruciate problem or something else is causing lameness, we don't have to sedate them and in order to really kind of work that limb for the cranial cruciate, the drawer test, that there are ways that we can examine animals, without forceful ranges of motion. So that if that veterinary school taught those things, taught all the possibilities. So let's say an animal comes in with intervertebral disc disease. Yeah, there are surgeries for that. There are also a whole range of other options that benefit the spinal cord, improve functional connectivity of the nervous system, get them walking faster, better. That there are valid ways to approach this case and many others that don't involve surgery, that there's surgery, but we don't have to start there. So I just envision a future for veterinary medicine where those who chose this field don't undergo the moral distress that we've all had on the way and maybe is perpetuated in your career, and that makes you want to leave veterinary medicine or do something worse because your soul can't handle it anymore. That shouldn't be the case. We should be able to treat the animals we love in a profession we love, doing treatments that we find are so nourishing for their body, for our soul, and that don't exhaust the finances and emotional resources of the client.
For sure. So, Narda, I mean, obviously you founded CuraCore. Tell us about why you started the company, when you started it, and sort of how it's progressed over the years.
Yeah, well, so as I mentioned, for the veterinary side, I had started teaching medical acupuncture and then related techniques back in 1998 at Colorado State University. And the programs just grew and grew. And so we eventually outgrew the university's ability to manage the growing, courses and administrative overhead and everything. So then we went with the State Veterinary Medical Association, which worked for a number of years. And then I just started CuraCore in about 2013, 2014, but it's the same program that had started at CSU back in the 90s. It's just that we got our separate business. And then in 2019, right before the pandemic, I bought this building, which was a former massage school for 21 years. It's just laid out perfectly. It has a little clinic where I can do my human medicine. And then it has 3 big classrooms where we teach veterinary or other classes, and then a whole registration center. So it's just really come into its own. But starting from those days at CSU, people were already looking for a way to work with animals. So I wasn't, of course, the only one. And there were already lots of faculty at CSU and the area practitioners, and then, ultimately just around the globe that were also looking for other approaches. The issue at the time was that the only program available, there was one acupuncture course that was already available for veterinarians, but they didn't have the scientific piece. And so it was not without a lot of furor and hubbub that I started my course based on what I'd learned, from the UCLA Medical Acupuncture for Physicians course, which had a strong scientific influence, and then have people that were already teaching veterinary acupuncture. So we included some of the Chinese medicine for about 4 years, just because the head of clinical sciences said, well, if you want your graduates to know that they're going to be as good as the other course that's out there that certifies veterinarians, then we need you to train your people to take that test and pass it and become certified. Well, even without knowing what was on the exam, versus the other course that was also the certification body, they kind of knew it. So I just taught traditional Chinese medicine because I knew it. I had learned that as well. And our graduates actually outperformed theirs. But in 2002, just another of these, things, I am this, I am not that. I had one of the people that originally started this other program that said, chi isn't real, that when you talk about energy, that the way you're saying that doesn't exist. And so I just got into the whole history that he kind of forcefully administered to me, and just the demystification of this thing that, yeah, I had been taught that too and believed it, but then realizing, this idea that we have chi energy and these little meridians that are invisible, that wasn't even historically accurate. That was just generated by a guy from France that was in China studying just to be a bank teller and diplomat and all this stuff. And he just invented the translation from chi to energy, as he said, for lack of a better word, though he said it in French, because he wanted acupuncture to be something spiritual. And chi from Chinese, it means air. It means the air you breathe, or you could say it's nutritional chi. Well, that's the food you eat and it's the metabolites. So it was quite a rocky start when I created the acupuncture course at CSU, because just there was a lot of pushback. Oh no, she's going to make it scientific. She's going to change it. She's going to do this and that. And yeah, well, kind of, I did, but so what? So so we've been teaching for what, over 20 years now, 24 years. And so, there's still kind of that tension out there, because in integrative medicine, you have sort of the true believers that will believe anything and want a kind of a guru to follow. And then there's just, I just want the science. I want to help animals. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to prescribe herbs that have mystery ingredients in them that I don't know how they work. So that all informed what would, ultimately become this company where we teach a range of options. But as we say, no woo-woo, just science. And that actually came about because we were at one of these holistic meetings and there was woo-woo galore. I mean, it was oozing out of the pores of the walls and everything. And one of my employees just said, yeah, we should have shirts that say no woo-woo, just science. And so now we do. But yeah, you can't treat animals with woo-woo. You can't treat them with just, thinking you're going to be a shaman princess and remove like little demons in their body or something. So it's really important to distinguish what works and what doesn't, what has evidence and what doesn't. Number one, to not hurt animals. Number two, to not defraud clients. Number three, to practice good medicine. And then, another thing to revolutionize veterinary medicine about is to make these approaches that are solid and evidentially supported and very effective and safe, make them first-line care, give them to clients, give clients the information that these are, how they work, what they can do, how they compare with medications or surgery. And it's not that we can't do any of these, but give the client the chance to see what might be best for their animals. So that's the precursor to this next organization. I'm not sure if we've talked about that, but the Scientific Integrative Veterinary Medical Association, which we're just now putting together. We have about 10 members on the educational board, with the idea that the world needs to know that there are safe and effective and often cheaper medical approaches that aren't traumatic and are nourishing to the body. And yes, we can always do these other things. And sure, there's a need for surgery in certain cases, but not the reflexive manner in which it's promoted and provided and kind of the only option that's offered too often. So that's the thrust of CuraCore, which is now having this partner institution, SIVMA, which is more of an umbrella organization. But yeah, so that infuses like how I do with the human medical education that I do and the veterinary. So whichever discipline we're teaching, which includes medical acupuncture, photomedicine, medical massage, botanical medicine, and integrative rehabilitation and physical medicine, that everything there is about heart, is about non-harmfulness, and about, assessing, getting a better diagnosis, because we're working with our hands, we're evaluating the animal, we're watching them, we're listening to the client, and just putting it all together rather than rushing. Oh, they're lame, they must have a cruciate, they need a TPLO.
Yeah, I love that. No woo, just science. It's really, really cute. I because there is this perception that people that do sort of alternative or integrative type of medicine are a little bit woo-woo, right? And so, I mean, I remember back in 2006 when I started doing acupuncture, and I studied in the UK, and I did the Western scientific acupuncture. So it wasn't all woo, right?
Right.
But I was called the hocus pocus vet in South Africa, in Cape Town for a while. And I think it's just when there wasn't many vets that were doing acupuncture at that time. So when you're doing acupuncture, you're not the norm, right? So you're a little bit different. But yeah, I'll definitely buy one of those t-shirts. No woo, just science.
No, we'll send it to you. Send us the address. We'll send you one. But about the belittling of acupuncture or any of the other techniques that are sound, I do think that is part of the protection of the status quo. So that shouldn't, so in the veterinary medical school that I would build, there would be education about the anatomy and physiology of acupuncture and massage and, photonic medicine with photomedicine, so that there wouldn't be like this, oh, that's the other, because I think that is part of the cultivation of the mindset that is not just because of maybe who's gone before us, and that's just how it's always been. But I also worry about the infusion of, corporate influences, whatever corporation it is, into academia. And they are often who fund the studies. And so it's another rebellious thing to say, you know what, even though you're I'll tell students, ask your orthopedic surgeon next time you're in class, what is the evidence of what they're promoting? And to say that is the gold standard. Because if we're looking for randomized controlled double-blind trials, like those don't exist in surgery. So just, I was enough asked about evidence when I was teaching at Colorado State for 20 years. It's like, I got the evidence. Let's meet around a table with all the people that are like kind of uncomfortable, if there are any, there were a few, and let's just talk about evidence. And nobody ever wanted to join me.
So Narda, you mentioned some of the courses. Obviously, after the pandemic, a lot of stuff has probably gone online. So will you let our listeners know what courses that you have available that are online and what are the ones that are available in person?
Sure. Yes. Well, so medical acupuncture, again, that's what we've been teaching for over 20 years. And so the benefit of having this awful pandemic, but one of the benefits, and now having the school, we have monthly courses on site that once people finish their about 100 or 110 hour online, very interactive modules and learning process, then they can come on site for 3 days, and they've already been kind of practicing and implementing hands-on things, but that's where we refine their technique. We have cases come in of all different types, and in very small groups, we do the on-site portion. But in the midst of everything shutting down, I also created what we call EMAV. So it's the no travel version of our certification course in medical acupuncture. And I have my little puppet here. This isn't quite Maverick, who's our canine small animal model. And then we have Maven, who's the horse for the equine group. But we send them a Maverick, again, who's bigger and not a puppet, and then push pins. And so for just the beginning part of things, once they finish their science of acupuncture, anatomy, physiology, electroacupuncture, how does massage play into it? How does laser play into it? And cases. Then for the EMAV version, instead of the on-site, then they'll upload videos, and they'll say, I'll have them say, okay, show me the big points on the governor vessel line, for example. And so they'll say, point is here, and talk about the neural influences there and the indications, and then governor vessel 20, or then I'll have them do points around the eye. So regional format, give me all the periocular points. And so they're already practicing it. And this even harkens back to I don't want to hurt anybody, I don't want to kill anybody. And so by practicing first on an animal model, which is very hands-on and still drives home the point, then they aren't having to learn just directly on a live animal, but they're getting used to things. And so then after that's satisfactory, and I review all their videos, then I say, okay, with an agreeable small animal, then, sometimes I'll say, if you have a willing human participant, like if we want to try needling, and I don't encourage that, but sometimes they want to do that. And if they have a partner that says yes, then I think that's legal. But anyway, we want them to have more so an agreeable dog or cat, and show me palpation, show me where the restriction is, and then they will show me where the points are. They'll do some needling. So it's like you and I are talking here. It's like you're just a few feet away in a way. Like if you had an animal there, I could watch the eyes, the ears, the body posture. After 20 plus years of teaching this, I can see how is their hand position. We have to do a lot of re-education, because we don't want to have people poking like this. We want full whole hand palpation. We want to feel these taut bands or areas of pain. We want to watch them. So there's a full technique that I can see online, and then they'll treat a patient with me in the room, and I get to see them walk. I get to see the whole thing. So it's been one of the best outcomes that I've experienced out of the pandemic, because I get to be really close with these people. I see them, I see their family. However much they want to share with me, I learn about them. And again, back to connection with patients, but connection with students. And that's really what we're all about. And I think that's what our name evokes, CuraCore, cure the core, and cure from deep within, if not cure, just treat and address. But it's really about the compassion, the connection, and what's actually going on with this being that you have been entrusted to treat, or that who presents themselves to you in the human case. And so just to acknowledge that and to have gratitude about, because this is the kind of field that doesn't burn you out and make you so stressed that you can't show up for who you are and what you do. So, but anyway, so that's the acupuncture course. We have a large animal version and a small animal version. We also have been teaching integrative rehabilitation and physical medicine since 2018 or so. And again, when we say we're this and not that, it's about, yes, we teach the full range of rehab approaches, but it's very much infused with hands-on diagnostics, assessment while you are working with somebody. If you're doing therapeutic exercise, are they engaging those muscles that you are trying to work? If they're not, then that technique needs to be modified. What is the diagnosis to the best of your ability, so that you're not prescribing something they're not ready for, or the client isn't ready to help with, or could reinforce maladaptive patterns and strain patterns. So very strong on anatomy, and just the people that we hire to teach are just very available and advanced in their field. So there's that. Again, there's an online option that's about, or an online program that's probably about 120 hours or something. And then they come on site for 5 full days, and that's their internship with a variety of cases, and then they're done. And we'll be adding technicians to the program starting this month when we open the course to them. Then we teach medical massage. That again has about 20 hours of online material and about 25 or more hours. We're probably going to extend it to 30 next year. We'll add technicians to there as well. Again, very much about assessment, treatment, connection. What are you feeling? Not just what are you seeing, really what are you feeling? Good palpation skills, and so on. We had a gal from Brazil this past year. It's just delightful. But anyway, so photomedicine, so not supported by any commercial company. So we go through the whole range of the different classes and the pros and cons. I don't need to sell anything. I refuse to take money from any company to sell anything. And then botanical medicine, which again was a bit of a kerfuffle when we started teaching without Chinese herbs, because there can be secret ingredients and quality control issues. And I don't think it's fair to clients to have herbal strychnine in undisclosed quantities in a dog's medicine. So anyway, here are the facts. This is where we are. You cannot replace your full drug pharmacy with herbs, because we just don't have the research on animals. But you can talk to clients a lot about the pros and cons.
Oh, no, I can really see the passion that you have for teaching. I can see you absolutely love what you teach. And it sounds like you've built a team there. Tell us about your team. I mean, how many people are working for you there? Do you have people that are off-site, or is everyone there at the facility that you've now got for CuraCore?
Well, we have, within the building, we usually have just 2 people. So Sharon is the do everything person, and she's great at graphic design and website work, and just keeping everything together, managing the courses and the administrative aspect. And she's an extrovert, which is really helpful because the rest of us are introverts. But so it's just fun to have her here, and she's so artistic, and she's just made the place beautiful. And then we have Nancy Howard, who is our videographer and media specialist, and she had worked for 20 something years in wildlife and was district wildlife manager. And she worked with bears and moose and all kinds of things, and rescuing them, and just amazing stuff. And she's an amazing photographer too. And so she puts together most of our videos and just social media stuff. And then we do have a web design team offsite. And then we have about 20 to 25 instructors that are out in field practicing or are at schools. We also partner with Michigan State University. So we have several faculty there that we've trained, and we run on-site courses in East Lansing every other year. So we're very much interested in building alliances with veterinary schools, because I think that students oftentimes are suffering because they don't know what else is out there, or they know what else is out there and their school isn't offering it or not supporting it. So for the transformation of veterinary medicine, we have to start with the students.
And what are your long-term plans for CuraCore?
Well, now that we have SIVMA up, Scientific Integrative Veterinary Medical Association. That's part of the long-term plan, is to bring the education that we do at CuraCore, but also wherever else has strong scientific programs, make that available to the world. And, with these online courses and all that, there's much more available. And with you guys in online pet health and everything, just raise awareness of the options that are out there, and to stop relying on this statement that, oh, well, the gold standard is such and such a surgery. I don't think that's true anymore. And we have to get that evidence out there, teach the science about it, teach clients and empower clients to be able to ask, and if they don't see it, to look for where they can get their needs met, perhaps non-invasively without going to the woo-woo. So for CuraCore or whatever, I just think it's this whole global mission, and it's to raise awareness and inform people and protect animals in so doing, and ideally protect the planet as well.
If anyone wants to look at the CuraCore website, and I'd like to say that whoever designed the website is really done a great job. It's a great website. You can go to CuraCore.org. And if somebody wants to get hold of you, Narda, where's the best place that they can get hold of you? Through the website, or do you want to give them an email address?
Yeah, sure. Email is fine. And it's just Narda, Narda, at CuraCore.org, which is CuraCore.org.
And I'll put all that information in the description. Narda, it's been so wonderful chatting to you and listening to your journey and how you started CuraCore. And we are here to support you and everything that you're doing. And looking forward to seeing all the things that you're about to do in the future with your new association. So well done for everything.
Thank you. And I appreciate you guys and everything that you do. You're real pioneers in this online raising awareness too. So way to go.
Thanks, Narda. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time I load a new podcast. I'm here every week talking to vet rehab therapists from all over the world about all things vet rehab. A big thanks to our sponsor, Wiggleless. Their sponsorship allows us to be able to give this podcast to you for free. So please go and check them out at wiggleless.com. Don't forget to also bookmark the next Vet Rehab Summit. It's on the Saturday, the 12th of November. I invite you to come and be a part of the world's largest online veterinary rehabilitation conference, created specifically for you, the vet rehabber community. Onlinepethealth members get VIP complimentary access to the Vet Rehab Summit. For more information about continuing education for vet rehabbers, you can go to onlinepethealth.com.